Welcome back, friends, to game number 1 of today's Playday number 2 for Stage 3 in EU League 2022. It's a competitive year we're in, by the way. Outsiders versus MnM Gaming is our first game to kick it all off. 1 out of 5. If you know that it's 1 out of 5.
Yes.
There you go. Good. Good head start.
I knew, Milosh. I did my
desk.
homework.
There you go. Well, he did. I have it right in front of me. I was requesting. Otherwise, I don't have a big piece of wood to keep slapping it on my hand. Anyways, welcome back. I'm Milosh's Fresh and Demo. You very innocent little man.
Let's talk about or what's going on.
Let's talk about MnM in this case. There you go. Very well. There's MnM and what they have to show for us today. Jackers, help me out.
MnM, they got a win in Playday 1 is probably the most important message that we could give for MnM. You know, they got a win, but the performance I don't think was great. I don't think it was anywhere near what we expected of them, Demo.
They didn't play to their par. They didn't play to what we know this team can play to. But still enough to get them a win, which I think shows a bit of character about this side and a bit of personality, where even if you're not at your best, you can still grind out a win. It was an ugly win. That's what it was, but 3 points is 3 points. I think Nello said that in the interview, didn't they? As long as we got the win.
That's the most important part for this team that wants to go to yet another major. Honestly, it's like they're surprising everybody with that performance. But Jack, what about the actual in-game performance?
Yes, again, Milosh, I'm just going to walk over there. I'm just going to go.
I'm just going to go.
I might as well just put my spot here permanently.
If only you'd swapped.
Yeah, it might be a good idea. Yeah. Right, so MnM, Stage 2, 9th best attacking team in the league. They were really poor at attacks. Again on Chalet, they only got 3, and they only got 3 by the skin of their teeth going up against TT9. However, one attack that I did like, and it's what I want to see more out of MnM, is playing into the metagame. Is playing into fast executes, using Lion, you know, using basically crutch operators that you can get to take the map control. This is a dining kitchen site, and MnM wants to take control of all of the vertical above site. And you're going to see, I've had to slow this down to half speed. It's only a 20-second clip. You're going to see exactly what they do. And I'm going to actually just draw a quick circle. One's going to come from office. 2 are going to come from a bathroom window. 1 is going to come up in solo window, and 1 is going to come on the double window. You can see that nice square around the map control that they want. And I'm just going to let the clip roll because it happens in literally a 20-second execute. 2 go in the window, 1 goes in the office, using Gon 6, using line charges, using the Amaru, into site, take the gunfights, refrag each other out, and they get themselves into a 4v1 scenario. And this is what I want to see more of for MnM in terms of them improving their attacks. Because when they play Siege like this, they're great. When they have to play the systematic, process-driven Siege that is classed as like a default, that's where they start struggling, they start going out of line, and they start relying on crouch walks to win the rounds. When they do stuff like this, the round's over in 10 seconds, they win it, and they look really good.
Thank you very much for that fresh showing the reality of things, and I think there's nobody here on the desk that's better suited to talk about 20-second executions. Though let's talk about outsiders on the other side and what they have to bring. Demo, what are your thoughts?
I think they need a full image that needs to be turned around, because I think that they did not play the way the meta is currently being played. I think they're very still stuck in their ways. The big question that we had about outsiders was, is it going to be a case of the same outsiders we've seen from the last split, where they were very rigid, very static, tried to play default Siege and was just read upon very easily by nearly everyone they played against? Or are we going to see Dan and Always and Joystick in the back? Are they going to come in and completely reshape this side? I think it was just outsiders from the last split with new players.
And I think the big problem with outsiders was actually how passive they were on the defense. They were defending bank. They weren't. The defensive meta today is about getting up in the faces of your opponents, being so disruptive to the attack. And outsiders, they were on the basement. They were playing basically a turtle with Milon in suicide position upstairs to die.
Especially
and
against
Wolves.
Wolves.
They're playing plant denial. They're playing,
It's Wolves who are such a structured team who, if you give them an inch, they will slaughter you. And that, you know, Jack showed that with the replays of Wolves and just how well they done that. I just think outsiders, you've got gunners now. You've got Dan there, who we know what he's been able to do, MVPs, you know, throughout tournaments, Always. And even you forget about Pasha's there, Milon's, like these as well. These are established players that we've had in this league. We need to see them get in there and use their gun skills.
It's just that catch up to the meta that we see. Just get playing today's meta, and they could be a great team. But currently, whilst they're playing the 2021 meta, they're unfortunately
too easy to play
they're going to get too easy. It becomes very easy to play against them, as Demo said.
Everything has moved on very, very quickly, and we'll see how this game actually goes between the two. But first, which map will this game be played on? As always, the reminder, 9-map pool is what we have here in competitive Rainbow Six. 8 will be out and 1 will be left, and it seems like
we know
8 are literally out. And yeah, I didn't quite catch that.
Was it Villa?
I think it was Villa.
I don't know if it's really that. It is it? Coming soon.
Coming soon.
To a movie theater near you. There it is. Hey. So we start off and we go to Villa. Yes, Oregon banned out, but Outsiders, they'll have the last say, which means MnM get to pick the starting side. That's how it works. And they went for defense.
That's
Villa.
That's the big worry for me. It's not so much the map. I think this game will be determined based on the defensive side. MnM, one of the best defensive teams in the league. Outsiders, not one of the best attacking teams in the league. You would expect quite a strong half from MnM, but then we say MnM aren't great on the attack, and Outsiders also aren't great on the defense. So the second half of this game, I know it seems obvious, but the second half of this game really will be the determination of who's going to win this.
I think Outsiders come in as the underdogs, which is strange for, usually MnM are always the underdogs whenever they play Siege. This is probably, in my opinion, MnM's second preferred map out of the pool. I think Chalet, Villa are their two strongholds.
Why is Villa?
Well, we've seen them play a lot during CL. I think it gives them okay, but I know for a fact if they can go to it, they will go to it.
I think why? What motivates?
I think it gives them the flexibility in defense, because I think for Villa there's a lot of different ways that you can kind of play out that map. You can do those extensions. You can sit on site if you want to. You can play the C4s from below. It gives MnM a lot of flexibility. Jack said, really good defensive side. I think that just opens up the doorway to even more of it.
Just to kind of comprehend that in terms of the attack defense win rates, and I'm going to quote statistics because it is just such a big difference in the statistics.
Okay.
Villa, through stage 2, through the Major of Berlin, and so far in stage 3, MnM haven't played Villa, but since the start of stage 2, 28% attack win rate for MnM. Not good enough. But the defense, 69% win rate.
Nice.
They're rinsing it on the defense. I would expect them to get at least a 4-2, maybe 5-1.
That's for Villa.
And it's all about that second half.
Yeah, so very curious to see how that comes out. Thank you very much, Demo and Fresh. Let's then toss it to our casters, Outsiders versus MnM, to kick off our second day of stage 3. We got Designates to take you through it. Enjoy.
Thank you very much, Milosh. Welcome back to the desk, boys and girls. And today, Tim did not forget his EUL shirt. How are you doing, buddy?
I did not. It's my most EUL of shirts. Usually I wear it on Playday 1. It scares me how well you know me, Des. But last week, I just couldn't put my hand on it.
Production does love messing with me. Every time. You know, that was the best laugh. That little half laugh with the God voice was absolutely unreal. Villa's coming up then for our first game of the day. You've got me and Tim for games 1, 3, and 5 today to kick things off. Outsiders, MnM on Villa. You've heard the desk talking about the attack and defensive prowess of both of these teams, or lack of prowess, I suppose I should say, when you look at some of the stat lines. This for me is one of those games, Tim, that really define if Outsiders are going to be having a good season. MnM are consistently fighting around 4th, 5th place. If Outsiders want to be in the conversation with their 2 new changes, these are the kind of games you have to be getting something from.
Yeah, I'd agree. I feel like Outsiders were... They could... I wouldn't say unfortunate, but there could have been a bit more for them in week 1 had they not come up against Wolves. I felt like they were sort of okay. Yes, there's, work to be done getting everybody together and gelling as a team, but I feel like we're going to see a bit more from them, and I think this could be the game where we do see a bit more, because let's not forget, MnM might have got that win, but it was against the TT9 squad who completely rested on the shoulders of a mission, including a 1v5 ace clutch from him that kept them in it at all. Otherwise, MnM really should have been winning that by more, to be honest. So I think this could be quite a close one. It's an opportunity for Outsiders.
Emmy just took a wonderful picture of you sat in the dark looking like some nefarious villain plotting his next evil scheme.
See, that's when I need the God voice.
That's when you need the God voice, absolutely. Bans have flown on through. Habana, one of the safer 2 operators. Interestingly, Ace has really climbed in prominence and popularity across, I think, a lot of leagues at the minute. I think Doki last week was on Twitter blasting all those, saying, he's not playing support, he's playing Ace because he's a great entry, has great utility, so on and so forth, always playing that role in this game. Of course, as you'll see, him picking that up as the 4-slot operator. But Habana was the choice to be taken away anyway. Azami, no big surprise. We've seen some really interesting holds coming out from her on, well, every single site, to be fair, whether it's down in Dining and Kitchen, whether it's around the maps table inside of Aviator, or whether it's being used for the kind of craziness we saw out of G2 last stage in their hold around master bedroom on this site. It's Trophy and Statuary to start things off.
Well then, it's quite the opposite of what MnM started out on last week. Of course, playing on Chalet to begin with, where we would expect to see the attackers having the run of things. Here on Villa, we would expect to see the defenders coming out on top. So as Fresh said, they're going to be looking for an absolute certainty of a 4-2, if not better. 69% win rate on defense. Very important that MnM have a strong first half, because they may well struggle to pick up more than a round or two in the second. So outsiders, this is your time. This is your moment. Get in there and prove what you're worth. Now is the time to do it. Take a few rounds, maybe even a 3-3. You might be looking good for the overall matchup. But round one, as you say, we're going to be going to trophy and statuary, which is a little unorthodox. We usually see one of the top floor sites to begin with, but it tends to overwhelmingly be Aviator Games. Now then, Tyrant getting aggressive on those main stairs, just taking the challenge right up to outsiders. That's just sent a message. It sent a message that you're not coming in here easily. You're going to be challenged every step of the way.
As it should be as well. We spoke about this a lot throughout Stage 2, throughout the Major, even last week, is that as defenders in this current meta, knowing that attacker repick is a thing, and attackers generally are, I wouldn't say so much the stronger side, because in the stats it's still pretty balanced, but many consider that if attackers get around site with 4 or 5 alive, there's a very good chance they're going to win. We saw Rogue charge through to a win off the back of that. We've seen Wolves play fantastically as well with a similar playstyle. Yep, Solotov has been hit by a nade, but I'm sure he'll be pulled back up in just a moment. But to kind of complete that point, as defenders, you need to be challenging every single inch of the map. And I think for Tyrant there, even just spraying blind at a barricade, he knew someone was around there. There's very low risk to him. There's potentially all the reward to win. And in the worst case scenario, or not quite the worst, second worst case scenario, you've at least wasted time away from the attackers. But for outsiders, all this vertical focus coming in here. We don't see vertical nades all that much, but at least to start things off, they are really trying to make it work.
They are, and the interesting thing was the distance from Solotov that nade actually exploded. It certainly wasn't right under his feet, but it was still significant enough to put him down on the deck. I think 3 weeks ago on the old patch, that would have probably been a kill. So that's the difference that you see in there, but it just goes to show that there is still some value potentially. Solotov has been downed, he's been picked back up, and he is on 20 health. Nello's going to be holding on to Astro stairs. He's going to play his life there. He's going to be looking for as long as possible. Now then, the Selma charge. The first detonation is cleared off by the impact nade, but interestingly, the second is not. I'm going to throw another one out. Rask here really wants to double down and open up that hole a bit further, but won't be allowed. And Tyrant on the aggression just doesn't push far enough to find his man, and that's still going to leave us 5 versus 5. But outsiders, they do have the view through from Master into Trophy Statuary, but it's only at a foot level. Nello with a big kill on the Astro stairs to get things started for MnM.
Still got to find the rest, and here it comes in. It's a bit late, but it's a trade nonetheless. They've got this north side control, but they need Astro control. Down will find Neo, and that's control established. The problem, Tim, is they've only got 20 seconds on the clock, and you've got to make and execute work in that time. 3 left standing, useless with a C4 in back pocket. All the tools here, all the time for MnM to still close out this round. One on the door, Tyrant just missing his target, but outsiders have to go now. They lose one, shotgun in hand, a second kill coming in, but they've managed to find the kills, Tim. They've shut MnM down after such a fantastic defensive round for MnM. Outsiders persevere.
And those are the rounds that are really going to hurt MnM here. As we've discussed so far, defensively, generally very good, and they need to be securing those rounds. 6 seconds left to go. Fighting over keeping bodies alive. Those are the rounds that they should be winning. Tyrant, he was really unlucky a couple of times on that concrete door. Looking into Master, the siege timing was just not his friend in round 1. He had a couple of opportunities where if he stays half a second longer in his ADS, maybe he gets a kill, but it just wasn't to be for MnM. So they're going to mix things up and be down onto the ground floor. It's going to be dining and kitchen for round 2.
I really like that first round in terms of how both teams played it. I think outsiders going against convention, where many would say, vertical nades are dead, the lethal range got reduced, which is kind of what you saw in that last round. It didn't finish off Solotov. But also that there are now only 4 operators in the game that have frag grenades. There is, far less chance we're ever going to see a round, as we did in the last one, that you'll see 4 or more frag grenades coming along. And they've really doubled down on that playstyle, looking to try and soften MnM up a little bit. What I love most of all, Tim, and I was watching it from the very start, was how many of those nades get caught out by ADSs or by magnets. Because the number of teams that used to bring along frags have, say, 6 flashes in back pockets of other operators and just burn frags into those anti-thrown utility was ludicrous. In that round, all the burn was being done by Dan's flash flashbangs in his back pocket. So the communication between the team there to make sure those nades weren't being tossed into the wrong places. Admittedly, coming from below, you can't really get it wrong, but they made sure ADSs were being burnt out by flashes rather than using more crucial lethal utility. And that's just a good sign of discipline from me, from Outsiders. But for MnM, the aggressiveness with which they held different areas of the map and looked to challenge Outsiders on their push through, whether it was bottom of Astro stairs, for example, whether it was Tyrant in the early round over on main stairs, they did make Outsiders fight for it and very nearly got there at the end.
And really, it's no surprise to see, you know, those strong teamwork elements coming out of Outsiders. As I've said, given a little bit of time as a roster now, I really do expect them to develop themselves into, you know, not necessarily immediately one of the top teams, but certainly a competitor here in EUL previously, or more so than they have been previously. Now then, we're going to have that triple wall being worked on. This time we are downstairs in dining, so it's more about keeping hold of the top floor for now. But interestingly, out goes the electrical from Nell, likely underneath downstairs, and he's going to find himself a little trick onto that Selma charge. He also doubles down and gets himself a nitro kill onto Always to kick things off. That's 2 entry kills for Nello in a row, and from Outsiders' perspective, if Nello's the one getting your entry kills, that's a bit of a problem. That should not be happening.
The C4's a bit of a freebie, but that second kill confirmed, I believe that was onto the rappel window as well, which is a bit of a stinger. In fact, no, there is still a player there, so I'm not quite sure where it connected. But the aggression coming out of MnM again, where they're challenging it towards bathroom. You've got Tyrant challenging it on towards master windows. MnM are far from conceding ground here. They are holding it to the wire, and they've brought down 4 members of Outsiders. A 5v1, a much better result in this round, looking to be guaranteed. Outside of course, a Dan miracle, which, although possible, doesn't really feel like it's going to happen in the round. There's 2.
Certainly
okay.
not. Manager to find another one onto Solitop.
I can't count how many clutches we've cast him where we start by going, there's no way he wins this. And then they
no
go
way
on to
this
win.
happens. At this point, MnM, they've fed him a couple of kills, but the attitude is going to change within the team.
Yes.
The comms are going to be very clear now about, you know, let's not peak this anymore. We don't need to take those challenges. Dan, he's going to actually hop over the balcony. There was an opportunity there, and the problem with not knowing that is he's now created a pinch himself. He now has somebody on either side of him, unknowingly, essentially. He's going to try to push his way into the site to begin with, see if he can find anything as he goes in, picks up. It's a nice challenge from MnM, just well coordinated. There's an Ella charge detonates as he goes in, tells them everything he needs to know, and both players go. They act at the same time, and that is a much better defense from MnM. Level things up 1-1.
What round? It was last week, wasn't it, where they let someone win a 1v5 MnM, and everyone was just like, that surely can't be allowed to happen. Like,
it was a mission, yeah.
Yes, that was what it was, a mission. Yes, I do remember now. You are absolutely correct.
And there was about 6 seconds left on the clock. And the thing was, a mission was on attack as well, so they really didn't need to be pushing it. They were playing defensively and could have just kept themselves alive, effectively, the last 2 when it looked like it was possible. You're thinking, just run away.
I can only imagine after losing that round what their next few scrims look like, with Eden and Archer like barking orders, saying, right, boys, today's agenda, not losing 5v1s. It's not allowed to be a thing anymore. And that, I think, like you said there, they made the right call. 2 players got a little bit cheeky. All right, allow it. The last 3 now need to really hunker down together and make sure this wins. And you saw that at the very end with the wonderful 2v1 to guarantee that Dan had no ability to clutch that one out. Now we get into round 3, though, and we go back to what feels like home on this map, Tim. It's Aviator and Games, where we thought, no doubt, we'd start in round 1, but so far I've seen 2 different sides in that effort. You got Ras currently looking to bring along the Ying and the DKB on side for Dan. So I'm just thinking straight away, right, execute focused here. Smokes in back pocket. Candella's looking to shut down those roamers, and you understand MnM have played a lot of extended holds. So the DKB is really going to help in that effort. So a good bit of adaptation and changing plans coming in from Outsiders here.
Rask and Pasha looking to get themselves straight into the north side, so that should tell us plenty that we need to know about this Outsiders attack. In fact, there's 4 of them now. Well, 5, in fact, as the last man joins in the push on that side. And Tyrant, I think, recognising that pressure that is going to be coming along immediately, dips himself out of there. He's not having too much to do with that. But look at this, there's 40 seconds into the round, and Outsiders are almost established inside a 90 corridor. They're not too far away from being able to challenge in there. They have got some rapid control here, so much so they're actually a little bit ahead of themselves. Pasha having to dip back to put those claymores down and make sure they don't get hit on the flank, but there is already 3 of them pushing towards Map's door, towards 90 corridor. Neo, Tyrant, they are going to come under serious pressure pretty soon. And MnM, interestingly, they're not really fighting this, Des. We've seen it already. The player in Master, the player in Trophy dipped away as soon as that initial pressure came. 90 corridor, they dip chipping away as soon as the pressure comes. I'm just wondering if MnM are maybe conceding a little bit too much ground to outsiders here.
It's a massive change to what we've seen previously, but I imagine once you start getting calls coming in from Decatur, when the drones start rolling through, you start to realize that maybe your days are numbered and it's time to get out of dodge and keep it a 5 versus 5 with a lot of utility being burnt through. Now, they've still got the nades on side, for example. They're getting Vault opened up here with the use of those EMP nades coming out of Dan. So outsiders okay, maybe not as good as they hoped for. They maybe weren't fully in sync. They still got one left, but in fact, no, they haven't. I'm a lie. That's their calls. The thing is that these new nades, they only last 9 seconds. You have to be really quick in getting these walls opened up. So a little bit of a slip there in terms of timing. They found Pasha, but then Solotov gets traded straight back out.
As you say, not a bad start. An entry kill once again, 3 rounds in a row now for MnM picking those up. But like you say, those EMP impact nades really needing a lot of team coordination, because it's got to be happening at the same time, especially for something like Hibana pellets or the exothermic charges that just take that little bit of time to detonate. Now then, out goes a nade in towards Bar, but that is a very well-timed smoke canister coming out of Nello there. As soon as you felt that outsiders were poised, ready for that little push in behind Vault door to get the diffuser down, the smoke says, nah, not yet. You're going to have to wait your turn. He's got another canister to burn yet. Nello is holding on to this for as long as possible. He wants to try and wait for that execute to actually be coming. He's done this fantastically well. There's 15 seconds left. They're not going to have a choice but to push in through it. That's exactly what they do, though. Ras goes deep. Ras gets shut down by users. Absolutely beautiful from MnM. 4 versus 3, 4 versus 2 as Tyrant finds Dan, and it is all but done for outsiders. Round 3 goes to MnM, and that puts them 2-1 on the scoreboard.
Honestly, MVP smoke play. The timing...
Beautiful, that. Absolutely beautiful.
I know players that would throw one out, let it burn for 5 seconds, chuck another one, and just keep on layering them and keep on going. But what they were doing there was listening out for the sound cues. When are those candelas coming through? When are nades being thrown? When are they prepping to make their push happen? And then pulling out the perfect smokes. And the thing about the last one wasn't that it went through the door, because they read, okay, actually, a Ying's coming out. Good chance there. They're going to charge through already. They threw it behind Maps table or onto Maps table, so it would smoke out no matter where they stood. Anyone trying to push through, and they'd be in hot bother, which helped that Vault player get some free kills off the back of it. Again, the timing and the reading on that, I don't see many smokes doing that. So really big shout out to MnM, some great play at the end there.
Moving on to round 4, then it's going to be a repeat of the first sight that we saw back in Trophy. Outsiders were able to get the win. It did, to be fair to MnM, come down to a few last-second kills from outsiders. I think we were down to about 4 seconds on the clock when the last couple came in onto users and Tyrant. So MnM maybe just needing to do a little bit more work in the early and mid-round, a little bit of attrition, get themselves an extra kill or 2, put themselves more in the driving seat. But overall, there wasn't an awful lot wrong with what MnM did. They've actually changed the setup quite considerably well by the looks of things. Users has brought the mirror along. We've got Neo with the castle this time. So we're going to have a very different play going in towards Master Bedroom. Last time, outsiders were able to partially open the wall up, not really in a significant way. It was only at foot level, so it's difficult to get any views across to Trophy, for example. You just can't get the angle. Even lying prone will not give you that. So mixing things up quite a lot here, MnM. I always like a mirror. I love to see a mirror challenging in this sort of position where they've got the opportunity to gun both sides.
What I love about this is that real, that adaptation on the G2 setup we've seen before, with a mirror thrown in for good measure, one extra wall left open. It's a head scratcher for attackers, I imagine. If you're seeing this for the first time, it's like, okay, how do we work around this one then? Normally you see it doubled up with things like Azami, but I think MnM can make a lot of this work with just the operators that they've picked along here. Of course, the Azami being banned away means they can't maybe layer it as much as they'd like, but overall it gives a lot of flexibility, like you're seeing out of Solotov here, to challenge in towards Bathroom, in towards the walk-in wardrobe, or cubby, and straight away, of course, in towards Master. So a lot of control being given just from a couple of castle barricades, a couple of soft holes being opened up, and a mirror window.
Always is just...
He tried his best.
Oh, T3 on the edge. He really did, didn't he? But there was absolutely no view that he could get. Likely going to lose that drone on the red stairs as well, but does find that there is a man in place. Solotov going to be shut down by Always. And that's a great opener from the Twitch using the F2. We've seen Twitch's pick rate going up as the F2 has come out rather favourably from the recent recoil changes. And that looks like an attempt to jump out or a flank to me, as Neo is going to bite the dust in the Claymore from Rask.
I still expect expecting play to come in from below, and why wouldn't you? You've already had a nade come in below the mirror window and shoot it out from below, so you're now looking for MnM dancing around below, hoping to find an unsuspecting MnM member dancing around places where they shouldn't be. As long as they're careful, real cast the curse, as long as they're careful, I was going to say, they should be okay to hold this down. They do finally get that first return kill back onto MnM, but I feel like the damage has been done at this point. They've got 2 left standing. They've got to hold on to site here with 45 seconds left to play. We're going to have to see a huge clutch coming out of Nello as he's in a 1 versus 4.
Tyrant was in a real key position there. If he manages to win that fight with Ras, gets the second man that's inside a Master, then suddenly you're in a 2v2, but that was not what happened. Ras comes in, wins it out for Outsiders, and then it's a simple case, as you say, of shutting down Nello, who's in a very difficult 1v4 position there. So Outsiders locking down Trophy Statuary again, interestingly taking MnM's primary site choice off them twice, but unable to get any of the other sites. And once again, MnM taking the same choice. They're going to head themselves down to dining and kitchen. We're going to have the castle being brought along again this time. Nello was actually on the Kaid last time along and managed to be able to trick off those Selma charges inside a master bedroom, just make it difficult for them to get in there and pressure the players that were trying to hold on to top floor. But this time, I'm going to go for us getting a slightly different method here. They've got Neo on the pulse, so watch out for those nitros.
Ooh. I do love how so far today we've seen MnM be so aggressive in their holds, whether it's, again, challenging every inch of the map in round 1, whether it was in the last one playing behind those castle barricades and mirrors in a way we haven't really seen before, being willing to step essentially into master bedroom and challenging towards bathroom from that angle. Here in this round, you've got them actually stepping across inside a laundry and dropping down a shield and looking to challenge onto the door directly. Most teams will reinforce off the double wall. They'll play a pulse, for example, just where Solotov is now, and use that to collect information. But with a shield here and a rotate opened up, they want to be able to challenge from this room directly inside. So interesting changes we're seeing out of MnM, but overall it feels very aggressive on the defensive side, which is what I love to see.
Quite an extension. It's going to be a lot of ground here for MnM to hold on to. It's, you know, quite an adaptation compared to what we've commented on previously, where they've been dipping away and actually giving up a lot of ground. This time, they're going to have to try and hold on to it, and they've certainly got the castle barricades and the utility in place to assist them in doing so. Neo, he's going to see the man outside there, going to be feeding that information in that the push is potentially coming in through the laundry side of things there. But for the time being, Outsiders still looking towards that top floor, and this just shows why the pulse is so valuable on this site. There's just so much intel gathering that can be done with that heartbeat scanner, and right now Outsiders, by contrast, if you remember the AVG attack that they did, they were in the map so quick, going through, taking map control, but this time much slower from Outsiders.
MnM had no idea what level of freebie he was potentially walking into. Then he could have had the first one onto Tyrant, the second one onto Solotov, who was coming up red as well. But just about a second too soon. A second later, I'm pretty convinced he gets the entry in this round. But that's how Siege works. Hashtag Siege timing. Pasha's working his way here up through Living after passing up through Library, stepping his way across and looking for what he can find on the downstairs. Catch anyone potentially rotating back in from this top floor. The thing is, in blowing out that Banshee, it does indicate his intentions to the rest of the defenders. Hopefully someone heard that one, otherwise for MnM this could be a very painful lesson in getting backstabbed.
Pasha just going to hold the angle. He's got a little view from there into sight, particularly through the memorial wall, but it's going to be Users who manages to pick him up on the opener, and that removes the threat into sight as well. It looks like Users is actually being able to challenge on the reverse angle there. Solotov going to take some damage inside of the center of sight, so just needs to be careful about exactly what he's exposing, because of course when the walls are opened up like they are at the minute, there's an awful lot of long angles that you need to deal with, on top of which you've now got always above you as well, just raining troubles, raining problems down into sight with this sledgehammer opening up vertical angle after vertical angle. Nade's going to start going in, but Nello could be in trouble, and his beautiful nade.
Their overall use of nades this game from Outsiders has been really good. Well, last week we barely saw any. I'm really impressed by their overall use. The downs they're fine, the kills they're getting, it's looking really good and showing that there is still a way to make the vertical nade style of play work. The only problem is you can't really throw it down into the basement here. There are 2 players from MnM. There's also, let's not forget, a Pulse down there feeding a ton of information back and forth. We're into that last 15 seconds, though. They need to go now. Dan steps in and finds one. He's looking for where another might step up, but there's no one inside of view. Always has got the cover inside a kitchen. This is the cover they needed. And MnM are nowhere to be found on site with their last 3 members. They're going to have to run for a retake, but Always was ready. Neo, though, what a god shot to bring down Always. 2 left standing. Can they win the post plan?
Absolutely beautiful from the Pulse there to at least get MnM back inside of sight. But the problem is now they are playing on the retake. They're trying to get Outsiders just out of this position they've lodged themselves into. And it's going to be important from Tyrant's position. He goes to try and take the outside angle, manages to get one, but uses Neo. They can't do their part. They get cut down. And it's up to Milan to finish things up from above. And that is going to be Outsiders with a successful plant taking what is a very important round. By taking round 5, that's 3 on the attack. We suggested MnM should be having a better half defensively than we would expect from them on the attack, so things just got tricky.
Do you ever think Dan looks a bit like Bikini Body? do you think so?
I can't say as I've ever really thought about it too much.
I mean, it's only just now I've thought about it, but have you ever?
I can't say that I have, but I will. I'll have a look.
All I can do
when the opportunity
is
arises.
apologise to Dan because no one deserves to be anywhere near affiliated or associated to a Swede.
Strong.
I'm joking, Keeney. I love you. I don't hate Keeney, trust me. The guy, yeah, I won't even go into it. I love the guy to pieces. Aviator Games we come into for the last round of this defensive half. So ending things out in round 6 where we finish things out in the first quarter of round 3. So gone through that same rotation of sites for MnM. Last time around, we did see things like the Yin coming along. We had the Decabi on side. We're seeing at least one of those making a return in this round. Looks to be that Ras is going to step away and get back on that Flores after he charged into sight last time round, got a free kill, and now has the ability to remove things like the 2 shields MnM are bringing along, plus magnets, ADSs, you name it, things will go a little bit better. MnM committing a bit more out to the roam, or the hold at least on the top side of the map. And let's not forget the excellent smoke play we saw coming out of Nello last time around. Surely Outsiders learn their lesson.
The big question here, and the thing to watch out for at home particularly, is MnM, yep, they've invested in that trophy statuary side. They're trying to hold on to it, but last time it really didn't take much from Outsiders to move them on, to force them back. As soon as the pressure came, Tyrant dropped back and then was followed by Neo, and they just gave up that land. Now, are they going to do the same again? It was a successful hold from them, so you would argue, potentially why not? And that is at the minute what we're seeing. I think Neo, he's moved himself underneath. Everybody else has given up at least as far as red stairs, now moving back into maps as well. So yeah, once again, the north side of the map has been handed over to Outsiders. It's a little bit slower this time. It was about 40 seconds last time. Outsiders currently at 1:10 into the round, still haven't come in and physically taken control, but Rask just making sure that the clearance of red stairs was there, but then a step too far as he gets caught up in the mute jammer.
If they can get rid of that jammer, and truthfully, I don't really see why Outsiders wouldn't try and work it from below, given how well they've played vertically so far in this half. Get rid of the jammer. That Flores drone is going to kill 4, 5, 6 pieces of utility. ADSs, magnets, Banshees. No, not Banshees. Sorry, what did I see there? Maybe it was Ella's thing stuck on the wall instead. I'm not sure. But either way, there was a lot of stuff stacked around that single doorway. There it is. So it's another magnet actually in the top left corner as well. There is so much utility there to be gained. Yep, the shield as well. Just, again, it makes total sense. And I think that's what Milan's going to do here. Try and get rid of the jammer, and from there, they'll be laughing.
Yep, that's exactly, and you can see there the trigger was, the fuse was lit, and off goes the Rotero drone, but interestingly doesn't quite manage to pick up the shield. I'll tell you what though, the second one will, as it goes in and is stuck to the back of it. Job done. Still a couple of magnets up on the wall. I'm not sure that that's what Rask is looking for. Nope, he's going to be checking into Vault and just trying to move those players around, make sure that they can get the Selma charges detonated at the same time, which they're able to with the first at least. The second gets snagged up in what I can only imagine was a repositioned mute jammer, just to get that one locked off. So that now leaves us 30 seconds left to go, and still 5v5, Des.
Still trying to find what they can, but it's Solotov to draw first blood. Milan a bit quieter in this game than maybe we've seen him historically. Sat at 3 and 4, is taken out early on, but did his work, got his team unlocked from below. Rask balancing the scoring back out now, and you can see how Outsiders again have got themselves down to the last 15 and have got to make it all work in the dying seconds. There's 2 of them back to back inside the Vault here, and that's a little little bit nerve-wracking, needless to say. Uses comes in, there's one on the deck. Does he see him? No, he doesn't. He's still sticking the plant. He gets away with it. Nello's there, but can't down him in time. Always with the backstab. Outsiders pull off a 4-2 half, and no one saw that coming.
Really didn't. The big problem now for MnM is they're going to have to show us something that they have not been able to so far, and that is a good attack. Something they've been struggling with for a little while, and so we're going to have to see them mix it up. It's going to be Aviator games to kick us off, and you just feel if Outsiders win this first round, Des, I'm not saying it's over for MnM, but boy, have they got a job on their hands at that point. They've been 5-2 behind on the attacking side that they've struggled with so far, and fighting against Outsiders who will have a lot of momentum and confidence at that point. So for me, MnM, you got to come in strong here. You got to send a message, and you got to get this round 7 locked down. Get a strong first attack, and let Outsiders know that Villa ain't playing out like that today.
What I'm really enjoying from Outsiders, because one thing I really remember criticising them for in several of their games back in Stage 2 was they'd take 2 minutes and 30 seconds to do a whole lot of nothing. They'd mainly spend a lot of the round outside the building or dancing around the outskirts without really committing towards an attack. And sometimes you'd just be baying them, saying, please, do the same as everyone else. Bring 6 nades, get control below, use the verticals. In this game, you've seen it time and time again, them looking to get control of the bullet. Maybe not always initially, like in that last round, but identifying when is the right time to get that vertical control and leverage it. And so far, I don't think MnM personally expected that from them in the first half, and have been somewhat surprised by the vertical nade play, by the use of the verticals that MnM thought they'd be able to work their way around. So really big showing by Outsiders. MnM had some fantastically creative ideas on defense, but Outsiders have just found a way through.
Can they keep doing it? Is the question. Can they prevent MnM being able to do the same thing? Tyrant, he's going to be working from Wolf Window, just cutting down those potential top floor rotates. It's a real powerful position. One for you to certainly try at home if you haven't before. Get yourself on that Wolf Window, watching towards red stairs, in towards map doors, and you can really start picking defenders up when they try and move around. No surprise whatsoever to see Tyrant being the first involved in an engagement from that window as Milon tries to move around, just tries to adapt and maneuver the position. Now then, Solotov has got himself in towards the top of red stairs as well. Just checks his drone there, knows that it's safe for him to move forward, but needs to be careful as he steps out. What a hold! What an angle from Rast to take him down.
Read him like a book, Tim. Put him back in the library. Far too easy. Rask just anticipating that push was coming through. I don't think he knew it would necessarily be the Nook pushing in, unless they've watched MnM pull this kind of attack off several times over. Still, beautiful start to get rid of Solotov. It takes 2 of those nades off board as well. Worth touching on the fact that MnM have 6 frag grenades in this round. You are seeing 3 of the 4 operators that still have nades in this round, ladies and gents. Just goes to show it's not completely dead, so as much as Outsiders were commended for doing it in the first half, MnM can do exactly the same.
MnM just struggling to get themselves established inside of the building here, and having lost Solotov, it's not going to make that any easier. Tyrant now finally able to get to the top of red stairs, but look at the time difference, Des. We saw this position being held by Outsiders from maybe 1 minute 50, 1 minute 40 remaining. There's just about a minute on the clock when MnM really start doing that work towards the end, and Outsiders, they were struggling with the clock to get the diffuser down when they needed to, so it's not going to be any easier for MnM. They haven't cleared out a lot of the gadgets that are there. Rask is going to dip himself away from that fight. Nello, he manages to find always 45 seconds left to go. Nades raining in, and MnM certainly up in the pressure here, but the laser gate, it is going to be reactivated on map store, and Rask, he just keeps on fighting.
Renaming himself to Rat here, literally ratting it out behind the maps table as well, just waiting for someone to step in and not anticipate it. But does he see because of his hollow? I don't think he does. Ooh, thought for a second he might get himself sideswiped there, but gets away with it. Now MnM are the ones coming down to the dying few seconds. They've got a 4v3, same as Outsiders did. Can they get the kills? Does Rast know about the one stepping, and he can't find the kills? Tyrant gets 2, shotgun almost coming out, but looking the wrong way, and MnM get the shutdown they're looking for. This game just got spicy.
Super important round for MnM. As I said beforehand, needed that first attack so that they sent the message, but also so they didn't find themselves too far behind on an attacking side that they've struggled with previously, and that was big. Rask, you feel if he wins that fight at Maps table, maybe things go differently, but he's going to have a very difficult challenge to make onto the man pushing in through Vault Wall as well, so certainly wouldn't have been a definite round for Outsiders. But MnM, they managed to get in there aggressively, in the last 15-20 seconds, find those kills that they need and close out round 7, leaving us now 4-3. And Outsiders sent with the tail between the legs over to Trophy and Statuary. They don't want any more of that AVG action. They're going to be moving it, switching it, and trying to hold down the north side of the map instead. Now, interestingly, they've gone for the full reinforce on the master wall. They're going to be using the electroclaws to try and keep that closed, try and keep it safe. We saw impact nades being used last time around. There's 4 of them in hand on the side of Outsiders. So again, they're no doubt going to try and take off that explosive utility as and when it's placed, but need to make sure that those operators are alive to do so.
Well, let's not forget as well, Outsiders were the team that banned away the Thatcher. So for them to then not look to play around that ban would be a little nonsensical. So I'm glad they've missed the left wall. Is that left wall not electrified? I think they've missed the far left one. So this could be a bit of a freebie for MnM here if they get that read and go, well, boys, you messed up here, didn't you? Because those electroclaws go so high against the ceiling, you can't recover them as the defenders. So they're kind of stuck with where they've landed here. So that could be a little bit of a mishap coming out from Outsiders. It could cost them a bit of time in this round and give MnM an easier in towards the site.
I think there was one applied inside a site. There was one applied underneath, which we saw, but I think the first had already been applied inside. If that's the case, Rask will have the opportunity to move that around potentially. You know, should they recognise that? Should they feel that they need to? If for some reason they haven't chosen to leave the left wall open. But for the time being, the Rotero drones will go in, will start opening things up. To be fair, the left isn't generally a focus for the hard breaches. It does tend to be the middle and the right-hand wall that you want to get open for the angles through to Trophy, so it may well be that they're not too concerned about it, and instead of double down. So what could happen is that, you know, one of those impact EMPs comes in, it clears off the Kaid electrical at the top of the wall, but doesn't get the one that's under the floor. That might be the trick that they play. And Solotov, he's going to play a nice little trick on Dan as he finds himself a headshot, and that is going to shut the Malusi down. It's going to give a little bit of map control over, and that is partially what happened, but it's not worked out for that right-hand wall.
Lost both of theirs there at the same time as well. They do get the next one to come off by the looks of it. In fact, no, it's fell off as well because the re-electrification came in. This is what we speak about. Only 9 seconds on those EMP nades. You've got to be quick, and he committed both of the Selmas on there at the same time. Both got impacted, naded off by the same nade. Now, even killing one player, it doesn't matter. They've used 2 impacts and got rid of 3 Selmas. Win-win. But MnM have charged in towards site here. They say, forget about this nonsense. Forget about utility clear. It's still FPS at heart, and they find their 5 kills and get a flawless round to bring us all square to 4-4.
Well, to say that MnM have had the better stats on defence so far in the recent past, they're certainly not doing too bad on the attack either, with that flawless round to level things up. And I think Outsiders, they're going to be scratching their heads after those 2 first defensive rounds, because there's just not much that they can do to, you know, necessarily change things up. MnM have gone about things in different ways there. We saw them in the last round there, in round number 8. That was just pure adaptation. That was, we've got into a position, they wanted to breach that wall. There's no 2 ways about it. They committed 3 Selma devices to it. They absolutely wanted that master wall breach, but when it wasn't, the next plan was there and ready to go immediately. They all rotated around it. They pushed through Bathroom and Astro instead, started finding kills, and it ended up a great round for them nonetheless. So I love to see that from MnM, and it sends a bit of a message to Outsiders that, you know, whatever roadblock you might be able to put up, however you can play to take our utility away from us, we've still got answers.
I love this one. This is an old one, I think, from probably last year. I think we first saw this being used in EWL by Kayak, I want to say. I first came see it come out from. For teams that want to attack into this, doesn't matter what you do on that side of the wall, there's a fair to good chance that you are not going to be able to EMP it off, even, well, especially with those more micro-sized, I guess, EMP nades coming out. Unless you get it on that right side of the wall in case it's droned out, fair chance you'll be chucking it at the top of the wall, at the bottom, for example, and just completely missing off the dial.
Little bit of quiet game so far for Solotov today. MnM, you know, whilst going well and finding kills elsewhere, you just feel like if they could get Solotov activated here or not, come in, get a 2k, 3k within a round, maybe double down and go for that again in a future round, it'll really propel them over the finish line in what is currently a pretty even game. That could be a difference maker. Solotov is indeed going to push in on the entry, but don't get overexcited because Rask absolutely smacked him off this angle last time around when he tried to push in towards Map's door.
Here's one as well. Solotov had a great read onto Dan on 90 last time around, and I think he was looking for the same yet again. Although Rask in the prior time did have a perfect read onto him. That wonderful back and forth between those three players. A little love triangle being established is one thing. And Solotov sees his man, his lover, charge across off towards the side of the site and won't be able to find him for free behind that shield.
Milan just biding his time here, not wanting to get overly aggressive. MnM did use the vault wall previously. They got it opened up, so Milan is likely to want to play, not necessarily his life there, but he's going to want to keep himself in there because he knows that they want to open that wall. As you can see, he's going absolutely nowhere. He tries his best to, but he can't get the vault onto the desk. We'll look away, don't worry, Milan. We'll pretend it didn't happen, but one way or another, he's forced back to site, and that is now MnM in control of the north side of the map.
Makes me nervous. It's the kind of thing if I was in rank that was happening, I'd be screaming like, no, no, no! You just know it's all going to go completely wrong a few seconds later, but does get out of dodge with his life still intact. So good bit of time being wasted by outsiders here. They've burnt us down to about 60 seconds left on the clock. MnM still looking for their way through. Rask currently undisturbed inside of Vault. The Vault wall still firmly electrified, and here we go on their attempt to make this one work. I don't think they have a trick. Yes, they do. Always is bringing it out. Will it do enough to get rid of the Salmons before they get the full thing open? Yes, it will. But look at that instant peek in from Nello and finds a freebie. He might not be able to step through, but at the very least, he can find himself a kill.
It's not necessarily what you're looking for from Vault Wall anyway. You're looking to stop the player playing inside of Vault because now they don't need to worry for that peak coming round on the close angle. Nello, he's going to be able to get this down absolutely no problem. Just gets away with it. No, he doesn't. Stopped in the absolute nick of time. We're talking fractions of seconds there. As always, manages to find the nitro onto Nello. Somebody else from MnM, you're going to have to go in and get that diffuser. That's exactly what happens. Neo goes, but always, he just keeps on fighting here. There's absolutely no stopping him. He's coming for a third. No! Surely not. He manages to find it, but not before the diffuser goes down. 33 seconds left. Outsiders, you got some work to do.
He just saw him on the window. He just saw his man. Okay, Pasha did see him. That's fine. There's one up towards the north, one towards the south. They've got to deal with here. They're going to try and stick it. He's going to hold it nice and tight here. Sees the one, turns for the second. Pasha is just too good. Gets the 2 kills. They get the defuse. And Outsiders finally find their first defensive round win. But Tim was still on track for that 4-2 half.
Certainly are. Outsiders doing well, at least locking one down. And we're going to have the timeout coming out from Outsiders as well. So they know how close that round was, Des. They know how close they were to losing all 3 to begin with. So they've decided that they're just going to try to solidify here, lock things down. I mean, we've got Dan and Always going absolutely fantastically at the minute. They've got 16 kills between the two of them, and they're practically unstoppable.
They are. It's... Whew. I mean, for Pasha, what I will say about Pasha in that round, the 2 kills that he got towards the end is what's now pulled him at least somewhat square with the rest of his team, where he's sat in the midfield in terms of delivery. I love that the lowest number of kills we're seeing in this game is 4. The highest right now is 8. Just goes to show that both teams are getting involved in the mix. Yes, there are standout players in this, but it's coming down to everyone having an impact in these rounds, which is really exciting to watch. And looking again at that round there, I feel Outsiders have kind of focused less on getting out in the map and looking to cause trouble like MnM were, where they had shields being set up away from sight, when they were opening up things like the mirror window and castle barricades to be able to challenge hard inside a trophy, things like that. What Outsiders are focusing on more is the denial around site itself, whether it's playing in behind C4s, behind the laser gates, the smokes coming out, the Kaiids like you've seen. Again, with that Thatcher ban away, it makes total sense that that will come to be their playstyle. You're seeing the two have very different opposing ideas, where MnM get early map control, but then struggle to execute, whereas for Outsiders, it was a real battle to get earlier map control, but the execute would always come in, even if it was a little bit late. And it's just an interesting observation between the play styles of both teams.
We're just going to be moving from the tactical timeout into a short technical pause, as I think one of the players just had a little in-game issue that they needed to skip out of the lobby to resolve. They're going to be loading back in, and we'll get this one underway for you again as soon as possible. Don't worry, you won't miss a second. Outsiders currently 5-4 on the scoreboard, going fantastically well. Both teams here having their moments, and it really is hard fought. As we expected coming into this, I said at the beginning, don't expect, because Outsiders Outsiders lost 7-3 last week, that is going to be indicative of what happens here, because MnM, they won, but it was close against a team that heavily relied on one player in a mission, so it certainly wasn't clean cut from them. And then Outsiders, you just felt like they actually brought a lot more to the table than we maybe saw. They just played a very good Wolves side who was sharp on the day, and that's always going to be difficult to play against, and they're certainly showing that here. So Outsiders really starting to settle into EUL today. 5-4 their lead at the minute. They're on the defence of Villa, so you argue there is a slight advantage there for them. It's going to be trophy and statuary for round 10. We saw them play it in round 8. They lost it. MnM actually went flawless, so this is now what was a difficult round last time. This is that, again, difficulty getting ramped up.
One thing I will say is during that pause, I had a quick look at the chaos that was unfolding around me comparing Dan to Bikini Body on Twitter, and a very kind person called Prism did clarify for me. Lethal range of frags was unchanged. It's the non-lethal radius that was changed, so it's harder to clear utility from below. Thank you very much for the clarification. I did think it was lethal range came down as well, so you got downs more often than you got kills, but clearly I was wrong, and it's more kills onto utility. So thank you very much for the correction. Even we make mistakes sometimes.
So here we go. We're going to be heading into
Tim,
round 10.
question, please, sir.
Go.
Who did you predict in this game?
MnM.
I predicted Outsiders. Ooh.
Yeah, I thought I just thought MnM. I've got them for top 4. I think they're going to, go to the major again. Yeah, I think they could make another major here. So, I expected maybe a strong start, but Outsiders certainly putting them to the sword at the minute, making it very difficult for them.
I was behind you. What you said, I think, earlier on around the game versus Wolves last week. For Outsiders, I think Wolves are going to make any team look bad. It's the best way I can think of it, especially on defense, because they're just so scary and so explosive on the attacking side. But honestly, with the 2 changes they've made, it'll take a bit of time, but you will start to see them warm in. So add a bit of rivalry into the mix for our cast, I think, Tim, it's fair to say. But what I am really hoping for, truthfully, is overtime between these two. Again, given the comments made in the desk around what we need to see now, the second half will be super important to it. What we've actually seen is the attacking side was where things really started to shine, and MnM have got to show us here they can get through these next couple of rounds, bring things all square. Do I then expect Outsiders to win on Aviator games again? Yes, probably, unless MnM can clinch it out. But that timeout could have been all the Outsiders need to figure out how to win here on Trophy and Statuary.
The big question that potentially keeps us away from overtime here, Des, is going to be that third choice site for Outsiders, because they're going to have to win one. Simple as that. If they want to win this game straight up, they could, win here. Then they're going to have to be finding their way more than likely to a third choice site. There is a world where they win here, get on to 6, MnM win 1, and it allows them back to AVG, but they're not going to want that, and that's going to make things very, very tricky for them always. Nuz managed to get the opener, but Users comes in with a big double, a big triple, Des! Absolutely smashing his way into sight. Jesus. Make that a quad. Surely he can't get this. This would be a super fast ace. I'm not saying it'd be the fastest we'd ever seen, but boy, those 4 kills came in a matter of heartbeats. It's Neo to take the ace away. They won't care. MnM level things up 5-5, and that leaves Outsiders now absolutely having to win that third choice site if they want to get this done in regulation.
It's that kind of pace that works Magic as well. I don't want to say it's like everyone's looked at Rogue and Wolves and gone, man, that works really well, let's copy them. But it's twice in this half now we've seen MnM just say, right, forget about it, pull the trigger, we're all hitting sight right now. And they just clean house when they've gone for that. We had it back in the first half once or twice as well. And I'm not saying we've never seen teams go, guys, screw this, just hit sight and we'll win. It's definitely a thing that's been around for a while, but I think it's much more prominent now in the current meta, now that teams have seen how successful you can be based on how Rogue and Wolves have employed it and showed that it can work so well. Big up from Users to a massive 4K in the round itself. That brings us up to 5-5 and brings things pretty square. And as Outsiders, like I say, you start to sweat now about what that third choice site is going to be, even what the next choice site is going to be. Where are you going to head to? Are you going to repeat that site again, or do you keep the rotation going?
Well, this is it. I mean, looking now that we're in a technical pause again, we've just got a lobby issue that's going to be rebuilt, and we'll get back underway very, very shortly. Looking at it again, I suppose there is a world whereby they maybe go to Trophy again, get that win, that would open AVG up for them. But the question is, do you want to go to Trophy? And that's why I say, this third choice site really needs to be coming out at this point. They really need to be utilising it, because round 8, you've lost to MnM, flawless round. Round 10, you've lost to MnM, not a flawless round, but Users with a 4K. here. You can't keep going to that site. It's not working. You know, there has to be a point where you say, right, enough's enough. We move on. We try something else. And that something else right now is going to have to be downstairs. I imagine it will be dining and kitchen if they do choose to go there. But, I mean, what sort of message do outsiders send here if they go back to trophy again? They'd rather try that site a third time than the confidence of going down to dining and kitchen. You know, that really doesn't send a message for future games on Villa. It sort of screams to me, take outsiders to Villa if that's going to be the case. And, you know, that's the last thing you want when you're looking at your map pool like that. So outsiders, they've got a big choice to make now in round 11.
I think they go down to dining. I think they carry on with the rotation and we end on Aviator games. And that's where we've seen them win once, where they played a very good denial game against MnM. To kind of draw back to Nello's plant, the first smoke did miss, but the second one did connect and was ticking down. So you might argue almost that the C4 was more guaranteeing that was already guaranteed. If nothing else, it made sure the plant definitely didn't go down. They don't have a timer on their screen showing, oh, this guy will die in 3 seconds and the plant will go down in 3.2, therefore you're fine. There's a bit of guesswork there, so it was more security. But I imagine they're looking towards Aviator games being where they get their win. This next round, of course you want to win. Of course you want to get the 7 and 5, but carry on with the rotation. MnM have shown comfort in attacking upstairs. Let's head downstairs.
Well, we are getting back into it. We'll just make sure that lobby opens up and we will get you in and we will get things underway. Of course, I do have the joy of both screens, so I've got the game screen as well, so I can see that we're all ready to. There you go. It's almost like I'm clairvoyant, Des, but I'm not because I'm cheating. I can see the game as well. One of the benefits of being at home at the minute is that I can have both up at the same time. So here we go then. It's going to be round 11. The question is, these two have fought hard. Who gets the opportunity to close this one out for a full 3 points? If MnM manages this, I'm going to go ahead and say it. They will be the luckiest team, I would say, possibly in the world, not just the region, to be sat on 6 points after 2 games.
You think lucky? I think
for MnM, yeah, they went up against a side where they struggled to shut a mission down at times. They've then fought back against outsiders. Outsiders have had opportunities. I'm not saying that it's all been luck for MnM. Don't come for me on the timeline. So, MnM have, of course, MnM have won rounds. I can imagine that you would be. MnM have won rounds. MnM have. But what I'm saying is to squeak through 2 games 7-5 like that and sit on 6 points. It's well played from them, but there's certainly an element of luck in there. And they are, they're lucky not to have gone to an overtime, really, is what I'm saying. Because I would have expected at least one of those 2 games to have edged over into that 6-6.
Yeah, I think I'm with you. When I think of luck, I normally think of, okay, the team isn't as good, but they've managed to be lucky and they've got a win where maybe they didn't deserve it, right? But I do think MnM have done enough to deserve a win last week, and arguably this week, it can still go either way. That's why we're sat at a 5-5 scoreline. That's what it feels so tight so far. We'll give it time and see how the next couple of rounds play out and maybe revisit this discussion. For now, it's Neo that's already been taken out on the DKB. So an operator we've seen quite a lot so far, let's not forget, between these 2 teams. Employed quite a lot back in the first half by Always, while Ras was sat on things like the Flores. So overall, I'm thinking, okay. Sorry, it wasn't Always. It was Dan, wasn't it? It was playing it a lot. Yes, because he was using the Mark 14 an awful large amount. So we've seen it employed by both teams. Here, it not being available is going to be a bit of a stinger for if you have members of outsiders looking to roam above, and given the site that we're on, that dining and kitchen, you absolutely should be seeing players upstairs.
Certainly should. Yeah, no, you're absolutely right. There's, to clarify, it's lucky to be on 6 points and not 5 points, or not to have dropped points somewhere is probably a better way of phrasing it.
The great philosophical debate of the definition of the word lucky in Rainbow Six Siege.
Exactly. Users is going to get taken down on a tight angle by Always. If Always pushes forwards here, he's just being cautious, doesn't want to get carried away. Tyrant is gone as well. 5v2 doesn't necessarily know that Users is down, but it's a matter of time until he gets Brave, Des, and he's getting Brave. There you go. Picks him up. He just knows at that point, 20 seconds later, no challengers come again. This guy is down. Now then, Solotov gets a little bit carried away, tries to just rush into sight. He's going to rush into his own flashbang Rask. He's going to take the head off him. Leave us now in a 4 versus 1. It's all up to Nello. He's less than half health. He's inside of sight. He's inside of the ground as he gets picked up for the final death. and that is going to be Outsiders giving themselves the opportunity to close this one out.
Now, do you look at that round and maybe say, unlucky? They got one player ripped off very early on in the round. That was Neo going down. I think Usis wasn't expecting to get swung on Master Door, which probably he should be expecting given Tyrant was doing that exact same tackle up back in the first half. Should be aware of what the areas that his team normally defend and therefore what kind of resistance he'll run into. That already then saw two players going down, and we saw how they got chewed apart from that point forwards with the self-flashbang, for example. We had a self-nade earlier from Tyrant, didn't kill himself, but it did bounce back off the Aviator Door. Just little things not lining up for MnM in that round that give a win to Outsiders on a site that I think many would have looked at and expected MnM to win. Now MnM have got to do it on a site where Outsiders have already won. It is on Aviator and Games, and let's not forget, last time round they tried to plant just inside behind the Vault Door. They got spammed with smoke grenades, C4s came out, the vertical holes were opened up exactly the same way last time round as well. Outsiders have kind of said, we predict/expect that you're going to do this. Prove us wrong. Have MnM got something else in their wheelhouse here that they can make work?
MnM are going to need something in their wheelhouse, as if they don't get this round, they're going to be taking 0 points away. And you've got to argue, you know, that as I touched on, really, it'd have been unfortunate for Outsiders to walk away with absolutely nothing, because they really have been a fierce competitor here on Villa. So they're going to be looking to close this one out with a full 3. But again, I would argue that both teams here do deserve something, because they've both definitely had their moments. For me, it's been a bit of a roller coaster ride for MnM. They've had flawless rounds, they've had users 4Ks, and then they've had rounds where they just couldn't seem to get anything going. There hasn't been too much consistency from them at times from one round to the next. It's sort of been all or nothing. It's been a loss or it's been a landslide victory, and right now they need another one of those landslide victories. We're going to have Dan just wedged in on these main stairs. We see this position so often. It prevents the push coming into study, because of course you don't want hitting on that easy flank, and that is exactly what Pasha is there to do. Dan is there to keep him safe. So those two working in tandem, need to stick together, need to have each other's backs for as long as possible.
I'm not saying it's the sole reason, but that timeout has helped Outsiders. And I feel for MnM, you're about to potentially lose this game on the back of not having a timeout left anymore. Is it going to make the difference if you have that timeout? No. But it gives you time to converse and discuss what the game plan is going to be. They're trying really hard to burn through main stairs here. They do clear out the utility, but now the smokes start to rain. Outsiders already seeing 90 seconds of that clock disappear, and now they're looking to do it even more with the hold on these main stairs, and MnM have got a decision to make.
Uses unsuccessful with the vertical nade. Dan and Pasha doing a fantastic job here. Half of the round burnt, still holding on to it, and there could be lives to be lost as well here. That's it. Double shotgun is not easy to push into at this range. Milon, he manages to find Solotov elsewhere. That's the knock gone, and this is not looking good for MnM right now, as Outsiders really get themselves rolling in this one, and that is 5 versus 4 now in their favour.
I think at this point they look a little bit short of ideas. In fact, no, they're committing everything over towards main stairs. They want to break this open. Grenades coming up, no doubt. You're looking towards the Flores drones coming up. They do manage to push up and find themselves a kill. There's a second one as the Trotero comes up. Pasha still finds a kill and gets away. The shield is gone, but they found 2 kills. Nello and Neo, the backline, have to go big against the last 4 of Outsiders in these final 40 seconds.
Neil just going to be bringing in that Dockerby call just to try and freeze the defenders in position at least, so they have to act with that phone, just take their eyes off the ball. It's about all that MnM can do right now, but Outsiders know exactly where the push is coming from. They're waiting for it, Des. Milon with a beautiful long angle on the MP5 of Malusi there to take one man down, leaving Nello now all alone, and always it will be to shut him down, close out the game, and that's going to be a 7-5 win for Outsiders in what was a hard-fought matchup.
It's like I said at the very start of this game, Tim, for me, this game was more than just 3 points. It represented what the mid-table war is going to look like, and Outsiders have got the leg up over MnM. Does it mean that MnM will definitely finish below Outsiders? No, but I think it goes to show that Outsiders, with the 2 changes they've made, may well be in with a shout at making a major this stage.
How many times have we seen Milan have that sort of impact in those big moments? Across the final 2 rounds, he steps up, he gets 4 kills. Yeah, it's only a couple per round, but it's exactly what his team needed. It just gave them that advantage and that platform to secure 3 points. Great match from Outsiders.
Really, I think, again, in terms of the way the two teams defended, there was real good variety. I think in terms of the attacks, it did often come down to, right, hit the site hard, let's hope for the best. We know this map can be tough to attack at points, but both teams still managing to fight. Well, not both. Outsiders finding 4 is a great sign. MnM almost getting there, but that timeout proving to be the real key inflection point for Outsiders to get a deserved 3 points. We'll go to a quick break. When we come back, the desk will break it down for you.